What up? Hey, what up, dog? What up? Hey, what up, dog? What up? Hey, what up, dog? What up? Hey, what up, dog?
What up, though, Pride Nation? Welcome to Luke G's Field Review. We're back at it this time looking at the potential free agents that the Detroit Lions could take. But we're not going to just look at any free agent. We're going to look at what their market values are and see do that market value make sense for the Detroit Lions. Now, this number could be higher, could be lower. It just really depends on the type of offer that they're making. But as of right now, these are merely the projected contracts that these players will want. So I figure since we are hearing a lot of news that the Detroit Lions are the favorite to land linebacker Anthony Barr, that we take a hard look at Anthony Barr and what the potential contract could be. And so right here, you will see the annual amount for this projection. So if the Lions sign Anthony Barr for 5 years, okay, mind you, he's 26, but if they sign him for 5 years at $41,867,534 he will have an annual salary of $8.3 million. Now you may be wondering, what does that mean for your Detroit Lions? Well, let's talk about that. The Detroit Lions currently sit at the 11th place for salary cap as of 3/10/2019. So they have $39 million to work with. And what that tells me is that yes, they can probably work that $8 million into the salary cap because there's still going to be some cap casualties. But nonetheless, he will almost essentially account for about 7 to 8% of our cap. And so when I'm looking at it, the question becomes for you Detroit Lions fans, are you okay if the Detroit Lions pay $41 million or more to obtain Anthony Barr? Now, the next person up that I'm seeing a lot of Detroit Lions fans showing interest in is Landon Collins. And Landon Collins is 25 years of age. He was selected in the second round of 2015. And it is projected that he wants between a 5-year, $43 million deal as high as $50 million. So between $43 and $50 million is what they're looking at, which would bring him at an annual salary of $8.6 to $9.5 million. So now the question becomes, Detroit, are you interested in picking up a player for 5 years with a salary that's going to be roughly between $8.6 million and $9.5? Now, that may not seem like a big thing, but if you pick him up, then you know you are surely going to overlook other free agents. So just want to put these out there. So again, we are looking at the top 10 market value players that have had association with the Detroit Lions. As we take a quick look at CJ Mosley, who's 26 years of age, he was selected in the first round, the 17th overall pick in 2014 out of Alabama, and it is projected that he wants a 5-year, $53 million deal. Now, here's what makes this even more scary for you guys. If they were to actually give him this market value contract, it would bring his salary to about $10.6 million. Now, I just want you to understand something. There are a number of teams who have their hands in trying to negotiate for CJ Mosley, from the Arizona Cardinals to the Baltimore Ravens themselves. If a bidding war starts, that now $53 million could go upwards to 58 to 60. And if that happens, the next question becomes, are you comfortable paying CJ Mosley 11 to 12 million a year? Okay. I'm not so sure I would be, but depending on who else we sign in free agency and what we do draft wise, it may not be that bad. But again, it really boils down to just simply this part. And that's, he's going to warrant more money than what's projected for market value because he has a market. Now we're going to take a look at outside linebacker slash edge rusher Darius Smith, who is 26 years of age, has 4 years of experience in the NFL, was drafted in the 4th round at 122 in 2015. His market value is listed at 4 years, $35,735,919, which would give him an annual salary of $8.9 million. Now, let's just say hypothetically, ladies and gentlemen, that he does have a market, and I'm pretty sure that he does. But let's just say he does. That $8.9 million can now somewhere be in upwards of $10 million. And the question for you becomes, are you okay paying $10 million or more for Darius Smith? Now, as you know, I usually do a deep dive, but in the case of this, I just want to give you food for thought, okay? Next up, we have Tyrell Williams, wide receiver from the San Diego Chargers, who has been in the league 4 years. He went undrafted in 2015 out of Western Oregon. His projected market value is 3 years, $28,981,984, which would give him an annual salary of $9.6 million. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be a huge market for Mr. Tyrell Williams, so that now $9.6 million projection is going to be upwards of 10.5 to about $11.2 million a season. Are you okay with giving a 27-year-old receiver a 3-year deal at $11 million a season? Again, keep in mind that the market will dictate how he's able to pick and choose his price. Now, let's say they were to add a year on to it and make it a 4-year deal. That could probably bring your cap down for the initial early part, depending on if they want to front load it or back load it. It just depends on how they want to do it. If they want to spread it out evenly, that's another option. But again, keep in mind that he will have a market, okay? And so he's never been a number one receiver. He's never had a big payday, so he's going to go for the biggest check he can get. Keep that in mind as well. So now we're here at outside linebacker Preston Smith, who's 26 years of age, has 4 years of experience, was drafted in the 2nd round at pick number 38 in 2015 out of Mississippi State. His market value is 4 years, $44,760,200. Okay, so he's looking to get an annual salary around $11.1 million. Now, I believe he's going to have a huge market. So we can move that $11.1 million and say he's going to be looking to be making somewhere between $11.1 million and roughly around $13 million a season. Somebody's going to overpay. It's just going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. But if that happens, ladies and gentlemen, let's just say that this is the contract that he absolutely wants and the Detroit Lions offer it. Now you have to ask yourself a question about who would you rather have? Because if you're paying $11 million to all these free agents, okay, and you only have a little bit over $39 million, you sign 3 of these free agents and that $39 million can be gone really fast. Not to mention, you still have to worry about extending receiver Kenny Galladay and still trying to make other moves to free up space for this to happen. But I just want to bring it to your attention so y'all can kind of have a general idea of what it's going to cost to have these players. Next up, we have Bradley Roby, cornerback for the Denver Broncos. He's been in the league 5 years. He's 26 years of age. He was drafted in the 1st round of 2014 at pick 31 from out of Ohio State. The market value for Mr. Roby is 5 years, $57,855,935,000, which would give him an annual salary of $11.5 million. Now, for me, he was a guy that I said, hey, I absolutely like his game. I think it can really work. But I'm not paying a cornerback that kind of money. And he may not end up being anything more than a slot corner at the end of the day. So if this projection is correct, and knowing that many of the teams are looking for defensive backs, this number can easily go from 11.5 to as high as 14 million a season. I'm not in the market for that, but for those Detroit Lions fans who are a fan of Mr. Bradley Roby, are you okay paying between 11.5 million to 14 million for this cornerback? Just some food for thought. Okay, and now we're going to discuss tight end Jesse James. Now, I know not too many people have brought up Mr. Jesse James, but I just want to show you in terms of financial standpoints how a move like this can be smart for the Detroit Lions. It is projected that he may be looking for a 6-year, $35 million deal. Okay, and if he's looking for a 6-year, $35 million deal, that puts his salary at $5.9 million a year. Now, he's going to no doubtably have a market, but let's say his salary is starting off at the $5.9 million. That means that it would not get no higher than, say, $9 million. And it could get no higher than, say, 6.5, 7. Nonetheless, if this market value projection is correct, this most certainly is a player the Detroit Lions should look at, because there's so much more added value in taking this guy when the cap hit is only going to count for $5.9 million a year. Now, if that number gets a little bit higher, obviously you want to shorten the contract, but then that makes things a little bit more complicated, and I plan on giving you a different lesson in that. But just think about this for a moment. If you got Mr. Jesse James for 6 years, which I don't see it being that long, I think it's going to be more around like 4 to 5. I think most players are not projected to take a 6-year deal, but between 4 to 5 years, and it's going to cost you around $6 million to $9 million a season. Would you be okay with making that move? Okay, so here's another name that I'm hearing tossed out quite often for the Detroit Lions. Wide receiver Jameson Crowder. Mr. Crowder is 25 years of age. He's been in the league for 4 years. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2015 at pick 105. Here's the thing. The market value for him is saying that it's 4 years, $32 million. So that would give him an annual salary of $8.1 million. Now, here's the thing. 4 years, $8.1 million, and if he gains any type of traction with a market, which I'm not so sure he will due to some of the injury issues, I can see that number being much lower. Actually, I think it could be somewhere between 5 to 6 mil, and that's just based off what his current contract looked like right here. And I think what you will see is given the current contract going from $706,000 to about 5 to 6 mil would be good enough for him. But also the thing about it is it makes it so the Detroit Lions can make his contract incentive laden, which means that if he does not meet certain goals, he does not make his money. You know, in other words, maybe the incentive may be if you don't play 13 games, or if you don't take this many snaps, whatever it may be. I think there's some leverage here. I think this number is a little inflated, and it could be a little bit lower. But just in case somebody do come along and pay a high price and gives him that $8.1 million, are you still willing to get into a bidding war with other teams to acquire a receiver who has had injury issues? Again, this is all food for thought. Just want to show you the market value of these players. Okay, so we're at our final player, which is Shaquille Barrett, outside linebacker for the Denver Broncos, formerly of the Carolina Panthers. He's 26 years of age. He's got 5 years of experience. He was undrafted in 2014 and signed with the Broncos. Nonetheless, the market value is $28 million for 4 years. Now, if this is true, I can assure you that this would be a player that the Detroit Lions take a long look at and will more than likely be a target for them. Because if his salary is going to be around $7.1 million for 4 years, I can see him taking a little bit more, maybe getting as high as $8.5 million, and I can see him taking a little bit less, as low as $6 to $6.5 $9 million. So it just depends on how they do it. Nonetheless, he would fit the scheme, and would set it up in such a way that it works. Now, let's just say hypothetically, for some reason, the Detroit Lions try to sign all 10 of these players, which we know will not happen. If the Detroit Lions attempted to sign all 10 of those players, which we know is not going to happen, it would wipe their cap completely out. They would then have to go into dump mode and dump a ton of people. So who are targets that I think are more likely to be here with the Detroit Lions? In all honesty, in my opinion, I think that Barrett is going to get a hard look. And I also think that Jesse James, the tight end, is going to get a hard look. But I also think that the Detroit Lions are also going to take a hard look at fullbacks. There's a number of notable free agent fullbacks that I can see the Detroit Lions going after. And if the Detroit Lions do follow suit on that, I can see how many of these names will be on our free agent big board. And so that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to kind of give you the market value of some of the players that you love and will hope to see in the Lions uniform, and give you an idea so you can at least have some food for thought on if you're okay with the kind of money that they're going to receive to be in the Lions jersey. So that's it for now. Please hit that like, subscribe, and notification button so you stay in the loop on videos. And until next time, don't be no chump. Please do your research.